Welcome to the Perfect Place to Put a Practice podcast. I'm your host, Mike Green from Dr. Demographics. Today we're going to dive into a question that I actually get asked all the time. What is the best time of year to open a new practice? If you're planning to open and launch a new practice, be it dental office, vet clinic, eye care center, whatever, timing can make a really big, it can make a huge difference in your success. So grab a coffee or put the cruise control on, however you're listening to this. Let's figure out that perfect season to hang that open sign for your office. Welcome to all of you great people out there. And I really want to thank all of you who are listening and have supported the podcast and Scott and I for so many years. We love doing this podcast and we're going to continue to do it and bring you some great up-to-date information as always. Also, for those of you that are in the dental world, if you haven't had a chance to pick up my new book titled Dental Marketing Mastery, it's available in both softcover and Kindle versions right now over at Amazon. We've received lots of great feedback from it already. It launched a couple weeks ago. I know it'll be helpful for you in your marketing efforts in your practice, so go ahead and pick up that book. If you would, that would be great. Leave me a great review. That would be really helpful as well. All right, let's dive into today's topic. Opening a practice is, as you know, a massive undertaking. You've got location, the equipment, the staff, the marketing plan, and that's just the start, or at least it seems, right? But one factor that's often overlooked is actually when to open your doors, or the most optimal time. It's kind of like planting a tree, right? Like the best time would have been 20 years ago. Next best time is today. But there is a little bit of a seasonal difference that really can impact your patient flow, your cash flow, and even your ability to build momentum in your new practice. So today, we're going to break down the pros and cons of opening in each season, and I'll share some data-driven insights to help you pick the right time to open your first practice or 10th practice or 100th practice, whatever this is for you. So first, real quickly, let's talk about why timing matters. When you open a practice, you're not just opening and launching a business, you're building a patient base. Now, this is assuming a de novo type practice. And patients, whether they're humans or for vets or our furry friends, they do have seasonal patterns. For example, families are busier in the summer with vacations, schools out. People tend to prioritize healthcare, typically in the new year. That's usually when they're thinking about it. These patterns affect how quickly you can fill that schedule and appointment book. Plus, your startup costs are front loaded, so you'll need revenue coming in fast to cover loans, rent, deposits, salaries, that kind of thing. The wrong timing can really leave you with a slow start, and quite frankly, that's a headache that you don't need. You need to hit the ground running as soon as you start. So let's walk through the different seasons, and let's start with spring. Specifically, let's think March, April, May. Really a popular time to open a practice, and really for good reason, right? The weather's warming up. People are coming out of their winter hibernation. They're thinking about their health. For dentists, parents often are looking to book checkups for the kids before they go on summer break, before they go on the big vacations, whatever. Veterinarians, pet owners are scheduling their annual exams. They're prepping for their travel plans as well, so they're looking at boarding options, that kind of thing. Optometrists, for example, they're going to see a bump in appointments in the spring as people realize that they want to get new glasses before they go into their next season, summer specifically, with outdoor activities and whatnot. And really, the data backs this up. According to a 2023 study by the American Dental Association, dental practices that open in the spring saw about a 15% faster growth in patient volume in the first 6 months compared to those that open in the winter. Now, you might ask why. Well, spring is when people have energy and they're ready to act. Plus, tax refunds are hitting bank accounts in April and May, and so a lot of times those treatments or services that maybe were a little out of a little bigger than their wallet, and other times of the year they have a few $1,000s in their pockets that they want to spend on that dental implant or whatever it is that they need. But it's not always, of course, sunshine and rainbows, as nothing ever is. Spring openings can be tough because you're competing with a lot of other practices ramping up their marketing schedules. And if you're in a region that has a lot of seasonal allergies, like in the Southeast, for example, patients might actually delay their non-urgent visits until they don't have those other things gnawing at them, nagging at them, to be able to go in and do something like a dental treatment, for example. So spring is great, no question, but you need to make sure that you have a strong marketing push to stand out, to compete with some of those seasonal allergies and things that may come up that might delay services. So let's talk about summer then. So if not spring, let's look at June, July, and August. Summer is tricky, to be honest. On one hand, kids are out of school, families have a lot of flexibility in schedule appointments, so they can come during the day much easier, those kind of things. Dentists and optometrists often see a spike in pediatric focused visits during that time. And vets get busy as well. Pet owners are bringing their animals in for checkups and vaccinations before they kind of go into the heavy boarding season. But here, the catch is that summer also is where people can get very, very distracted with vacations, family reunions, barbecues, beach trips. All of those things will take priority typically. And those planners out there have gotten all those things done in the spring so that they can enjoy their summer doing some of those fun activities. In some markets, especially tourist heavy areas, the Floridas, some places along the eastern coast, the patient base might literally leave town completely for weeks on end. And so you really need to know and understand the dynamics of who the population is in your particular area, different seasonal times, especially in a snowbird area, especially in a high tourist area. Another factor to consider there is cash flow. Patients are spending on travel, back to school prep, and so they might not be as excited about spending a lot on an elective procedure like cosmetic dentistry or new contact lenses, something like that. From a business perspective, summer openings can work if you're in a very family-friendly area and you market heavily to the parents. But if your practice relies on adult patients or elective services, summers can actually be pretty slow, and the Google Trends data backs that up 100%. So our advice is, if you're opening in the summer, plan for a little bit longer ramp-up period and budget for that extra marketing to keep your chairs full. Specifically, your bread and butter, you'll be fine. Like that will be no issue. It's the elective services. It's the more cosmetic. It's the higher dollar things that you may not see happen. A lot of people are researching. As a matter of fact, the Google Trends tell us, if we take dental implants, for example, July is one of the largest, the months where people are researching dental implants the very, very most. But typically that's not because they want to do it then. They just want to get educated so they can make the decision a few months down the road to actually do the service. And speaking of that, let's talk about the fall, specifically September, October, November. Fall is honest. I mean, it's probably my personal favorite for opening up a practice. And here's why. So people are back from the summer. Kids are in school. Routines are kicking in. Patients start thinking about their insurance benefits before the year ends. For dentists, this is a huge, huge deal. Dental insurance plans often reset in January, so patients are at a rush to book those cleaning procedures before that season ends. Vets can actually see a similar trend with pet owners scheduling surgeries and wellness visits. Optometrists, same deal. People want new glasses or contacts before the holidays. They don't want to go through that when they get into that season. So it can be a really, really great time and a huge bump and a really good opportunity to build and open that practice. And the numbers don't lie. A 2024 report from the Veterinary Practice Management Association showed that vet clinics opening in the fall had a 20% higher revenue in the first quarter compared to a summer opening. Why? Because patients are motivated. They've got money to spend before the holiday shopping season takes over. Plus, fall is when you can really build momentum going into the new year, which is critical for your long-term success. Now it's all not sunshine and rainbows, of course. There is a downside. You've got to move fast. If you're opening in the fall, you have to hit the ground running with your marketing, your staff training, and your scheduling because you have the holidays coming around the corner. As soon as that Thanksgiving and early Christmas prep happens, things will slow down considerably, and people's minds and wallets will shift in a different direction. And so the race and the time is on in the fall. You've got to really nail it really, really hard and make sure that you've reached your goals financially before that holiday season hits. So finally, let's talk about the winter. December, January, February. Winter's really kind of a mixed bag. December's tough, obviously, because people are focused on the holidays, shopping, family, that kind of thing. Unless you're offering an emergency service option at your practice, it's really hard to get patients in the door because they've got so many other things going on. But January and February, it's a completely different story. The new year brings resolutions. People are ready to invest in their health. Some people may even get tax return money back at that period. Oftentimes, dentists will see a surge for whitening and cosmetic procedures. I had mentioned that July was one of the biggest months where people are researching and learning about dental implants. January is the other one. Matter of fact, January and July are almost exactly the same as far as how many people are Googling and learning about dental implants. So it gives you a pretty good idea of what people are thinking about, what they want to do, what they want to accomplish in that season. So here's another stat to kind of chew on for a second. So in 2022, the healthcare industry survey found that practices opening in January had a 10% higher patient retention rate in their first year compared to summer openings. And why is that? Because patients who visit in January are more likely to stick with you for the duration because they're in that proactive mindset. Plus insurance deductibles are reset, so they're ready to really hit the ground running when it comes to that. If you land that patient later in the year, not that you're not going to keep them, but in comparison to you landing them at the first of the year, that percentage of retention rate goes down considerably, and the numbers don't lie. So it's a pretty interesting thing. Now, of course, winter has challenges. Weather can be a huge problem in certain parts of the country. Snowstorms, ice can keep patients away, especially in the northern states. If you're opening in December, obviously you're fighting an uphill battle against the holidays. My opinion is aim for late January, early February if you want to open during the winter season. It's really a great time to capture that new energy and get you ready for that spring season and really where you can get some money coming through the door. So what's the final answer, right? People always say, okay, but if it was you, what would you do? So if I had to pick one season, it would be the fall, specifically September and October. I think those are the best 2 months out of the year to open the practice, have time to get established before you hit the holiday season, and then be really well set for that next year that you can really dial in and be successful. But spring and late winter, they can definitely work too, depending on obviously your market and your specialty and what you're wanting to do. Summer's definitely doable. I don't want to mark that out, but you'll need to work hard to keep that schedule full. So it'd probably be my third option of the three. So here's a quick tip to think of. No matter what you do and when you plan to open, start marketing at least 3 months before you launch and build your business. We typically say, as far as a demographic study, any time between 8 to 15 months really is where you ought to be looking as far as talking to us about the demographics and getting the data and that kind of stuff. But anywhere between 3 to 6 months, and you never can be too early, is when you want to start dialing in that marketing plan. And that book, Dental Marketing Mastery for You Dentists, will be very helpful for that. And hint, hint, nudge, nudge, I'm actually working on a veterinary and an optometry version of that book. So those ones will be coming soon. But for you dentists, that book will help guide you in that period and help you make some really good key decisions. So before we wrap up, let me just talk about one last thing: location-specific factors. If you're in a college town, obviously fall is going to be ideal because students are back in town. If you're in a retirement community, winter might be better because that's when the snowbirds may return. Coastal areas, avoid summer if your patients are heading to the beach constantly. Obviously, at Dr. Demographics, we specialize in analyzing all those local trends to help you pick not just the right time, but the right place for your practice. So if you're curious on that, head to our website, drdemographics.com. Certainly happy to help you out and answer some key questions for you on that regard. All right, folks, that's it for today's episode of the Perfect Place to Put a Practice podcast. I hope you've got a clear picture of when to open your doors and start building your dream practice. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, share the episode with a colleague or friend who's thinking about opening or launching their own new practice. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can always visit us at www.drdemographics.com or give us a call at 844-704-0499 or send me an email directly, mike@drdemographics.com with doctor spelled out. We'll see you on the next episode.